So today we are looking at the top 5 best players in each position under 100,000 coins. Does give us a lot more budget, and I must admit golds are starting to come down. We will rack through these keepers very quickly, as to be honest, they're all the same at this sort of value. Donnarumma's now at 57,000. We've got Courtois at 52,000. We then have our boy Alisson at 41. We have David Raya at 23. And finally we have Mama at 8,000. All of them are fantastic in their own rights. Now, I will always say Donnarumma, Courtois, Alisson will be my favourites at the moment. They most definitely have been the ones I've seen the most from. The reason why kind of Mamardashvili, I think he's how you pronounce his name, he's kind of come in. You've got your Martinez, you've got your Mignan, you could literally have the pick of the keepers. From what I've played with and what I've played against, he has been, in the past 2 weeks, in a lot of people's teams, especially a Road to Glory. Like, not everybody's managed to pack a Donnarumma. You could definitely buy him at this point, but you may not have actually packed him. There is a lot of people that are using him, and he has been fantastic. So keepers are kind of, they're as cheap now. Like, there's not necessarily a keeper where I'm like, these are expensive, these are going to be now the next thing that you need to buy that's going to cost you an arm and a leg. You look at most of the keepers in this point, and this is the whole point, because you only need one, maybe 3 of you going for the lovely verifying human. If you're obviously going for the gauntlet, you need 3, but even then, it's not expensive. Like, you look at the icons in themselves, like, yes, you're not going to go for them right now. They will drop massively. You look out of that list then, you take out all them icons. The highest priced keeper is 100,000 for a hero that will drop. Dudek that will drop. And then you've got the choice. You could spend 150,000 for the gauntlet. You've got Alisson, Courtois, Donnarumma. That's literally all the keepers you need, 150,000. You don't have to buy another keeper again unless they add more to the gauntlet. So I think keepers are an easy one to just take off now. So if you're looking for coins, head over to eldorado.gg. There is huge amounts of verified sellers on Eldorado, and there is a money back guaranteed by Trade Shield. If that's not enough, there is 24/7 live support and also plenty of reviews across websites that will definitely put your mind at ease. And as always, before you check out, make sure that you are using the code JT11 for 5% off every single order. Back to the video. But when we do come into fullbacks and all the other positions, there's a few standard now. I must admit there's a few that have dropped down immensely in price, which is always nice to see for everybody else, obviously. Teo Hernandez is going to be my first left back. I haven't quite got them in order of what I would prefer. I think all of them have different styles for the budget. Teo Hernandez isn't that crazy expensive, so I think is a nice option if you are running that French team. We then have our boy Balde. Personally, my left back has been exceptional. With obviously the Spanish links, the links to Barcelona for the Liga F, he's always going to be a solid option. Very much kind of like his counterpart, which is Ferland Mendy. The Real Madrid French links, he's got everything you need there. Both of them very similar in what they kind of bring together. Obviously, Balde brings more of the pace side of stuff, and then kind of Ferland is the 4-star, 5-star. He's the guy with a 5-star weak foot as a left back. He's got a great kind of base of stats to go with. Being 81 rated as well will hold him in good contentions for an evolution straight off the bat, and I think that is absolutely massive. So them two are easy. I must admit, big fan of the new Cucurella. Now, obviously, the pace upgrade is massive. It's got lovely stats across the board, and he's only 60,000 coins now. I think, yes, he could have done with some other upgrades elsewhere. He obviously got a couple of rolls, but naturally, they're trying to slow that down. I'm all for it. It's a nice upgrade for him. Makes him into a solid left back, because realistically after him you're looking at Kirkes, you're looking at maybe Robinson, who's decent enough, but as a fullback plus left back he would suit me down to the ground. And then I have Batche. I was almost debating between her and Karchawi Sakina, because Karchawi has kind of been more cam centre mid now. She's kind of taken away from the left back. Whereas Batcher is a full-fledged left back. She's got the pace. She's great links to obviously any French players. The D1 have got a few nice players, and especially coming up through the ranks, the cornerstone Renard. You look at Kototo. There's definitely a wiggle room for some players in there. So I think she's definitely solid enough. We move over to the right backs. We've obviously got Llorente, always solid right back. I must admit, like I always suggest with him, the fact that he is predominantly a centre mid, I don't know if he actually plays full on right back for Atletico. Actually, let me know down below if you do. But even if he doesn't, it's just hilarious that the fact that he always gets put in the right back role. But he can play centre mid, right mid, so great versatility for him. And he's always been a nice starting right back, especially now Carvajal's getting a bit older, and there's just not really another one that takes over. Reece James I've thrown in here because I feel like a lot of people did complete him, or at least managed to look at him. I think he was a solid option. Now looking at Cucurella the other side, great links between the two Chelsea boys. You just got yourself a solid shout. You know Palmer's going to end up with something decent. Pedro Neto is going to end up with something decent. There's a lot of kind of prospects in the Chelsea team that really can get some nice levels. Even then, is it Estevala, I think is how you pronounce his name, with the potential link that the next season 2 will be Brazilian. There could be some interesting ones to go there. Naturally then, we've got our boy Frimpong coming down massively in terms of price, 16,000 coins now. A basic standard team now is just so cheap already, so I'm interested to see where the next stage is, because we don't want to be too stagnant with this team, because even then, you kind of look at the kind of more expensive side at a Lucy Bronze. Very nice indeed. WSL have some wonderful players. I think the female leagues this year have definitely taken that next step up, where they are considered as sometimes a better option, or at least a cheaper option in some areas, because there's such now a versatility on who you play with. It's not just one team anymore. If you are going for the gauntlet side of stuff in terms of how you run your club, having a player like Frimpong, Bronze, a Reece James in there becomes so much more appealing for everybody, because you need it. You're not going to be able to go in with your bog standard Joe team and rock everybody. Maybe if you are a very good player, potential, but realistically, if you set yourself up right, you're going to do pretty well. And then Alex Scott, purely on the fact that she was in the matchday hero. Whether you chose her over Ollie, potentially, I still think she was a solid right back. If you wanted, I had her down as the second pick, just over Beasley. So there was an option there. If you've already got your strikers, you don't necessarily want to go for another one. She wasn't a bad option, to say the least. Moving on to some of the centre-backs then. Virgil is now scraped into the 100,000 coins. Even though, yes, he might not be the number one option anymore. I feel like he's definitely came down this year. Still think he's very good, but I must admit, after now giving him a really good fair few weeks, he does seem like he's not unobtainable, untouchable. He's just on a different category on his own. You know, last year and the year before, Virgil as a gold centre-back was always like a gold Mbappe, like a gold Messi and Ronaldo, like a gold Conte. He was an easy one to always put in your team. And it's kind of now dropped down that really there's quite a few options you can go with. I think Saliba is going to be one of my more favoured cards in this game. He's just impeccable with everything he does. He's great pace, great defending, decent physical, some lovely dribbling and passing on him that will kind of keep him up there to the top of that level. And Anticipate Plus will definitely do his job as well. We have Pacho, who I think is one to definitely look out for, especially this PSG team. It looks absolutely nutty across the board. Like, PSG have some wonderful players. You look at a Dembele as kind of like their staple man at this point. Hakimi, Nuno Mendes is two of the best fullbacks in the game. And then you got Pacho, you've obviously got Marquinhos next to him, very wonderful centre-backs. Doué on the right, Barcola on the left, you throw in Karchawa, you throw in plenty of other players that can really do it. Vitinha, Neves, Kvaratskhelia, loads and loads of talent that can make into such an exceptional team. That being said, Van der Ven is another one that I would definitely consider in this. 44,000 coins, very, very pacey. He's kind of that like almost just a ball playing defender, but he's just that last man that will catch absolutely everybody, and naturally won't necessarily get too many evolutions of much. Like, he might get some passing, which I think is great to round him off rather than waiting for a full upgrade for him, but there is a potential that you can at least get some stats up. You might be able to add a couple of play styles to him, which is decent, and it can give him that overall feel of a bit of an upgrade without having to kind of make him into this 84, 86, 87 god with 90 pace. Then also we've kind of thrown in the final one. There was a lot of options between like Arejo as a very cheap build, Rudiger who is very similar pay, and then like even just going like Tar and someone like that. Militao is most definitely one of my better favorite cards for 30,000, like coming in relatively cheap. Is a solid centre back. He's got his inform that is way above market in my opinion, but 31,000 for him is a solid card that you can get involved with. We then move on to some CDMs. Now, obviously, with Patry, she has dropped massive values at this point. I think I got her at about 140, 150, dropping down to 84. I'd say the only kind of negative for is maybe the stamina if you're going for the box crasher or potentially somebody who's on the ball consistently. But in terms of that agility, getting on the ball, the dribbling, the passing, some shooting, not always consistent, but a lot of the time she is in and around the box with my box crasher on and does a decent amount of job in there. So she is an all-round threat in my opinion. I do think she's one of the better cards that you can get and also has the links in that Liga F. She does get thrown into Lenfi as well if you throw the anchor on her. 81, 90, 87. I mean, it's as easy as that really. She's just a brilliant CDM. Then we move on to a Gravenberch coming in at 36,000 now. It's exactly why I said with him is he was massive price before this. Like we're looking at over 100,000 coins. You knew that was going to be a silly option. Like you can kind of get away with someone like, I mean, to be honest, I bet all of them are down. I'd love to see what Vinny's down at, but most players will drop down quickly. Icons will drop down a little bit slower because they are harder to get, but cards like this, he was bound to drop in the first 2 weeks a massive amount, and if you've managed to hold on to him and lost that much, then it's just a bit unfortunate. But he is a very good card regardless. I think now if you were looking to buy him, you'd absolutely snap your hand off at him. Great defensive ability, his dribbling's there, he's got a bit of shooting and passing that kind of get him through the attacking options, but wonderful on that defensive, especially if you did want to go for that shadow. Give himself the 82, 85, lovely base card that you can start your Prem team on, and especially if you're looking for some Dutch players as well. Great links with De Jong. Caicedo, one of my personal favourites. Now he is going to be heavily on that Prem hype. Obviously coming in from Ecuador, there's not necessarily a crazy amount of players. Is Pacho's Ecuadorian. You've got Hincape as another one. And then after that, you're probably waiting for a specific nation upgrade more so than anything. So realistically, you are looking at these three that can be linked. I mean, it's not impossible. But I do think Caicedo comes in very, very nice for 23. But he was dropped down a hell of a lot. Kimmich will always be a fan favourite of mine in terms of DM. He's had a wonderful glow up this year. He may not be first on the team sheet, but for a Bundesliga vibe, I think he's absolutely effortless to play with. He's good on the ball. His defensive abilities there. He's got a great amount of passing. The long ball pass obviously helps in a game where playstyle pluses are only for the elite. Then we kind of throw in a João Neves as a bit of CDM and centre mid. I do think if he was kind of looking between him and Vitinha, obviously he would be considered more the DM and Vitinha would be more the kind of box-to-box passing playmaker side of stuff, even though he does have a bit of everything, which is nice. And I do think he's going to be one to watch out for later on with the upgrades, because if he does manage to keep his defensive nature and just up the passing, ups a little bit of the shooting, he's definitely going to be up there. And press proven, it's good enough. I think for 12k, you're not really complaining too much. One of my personal favourites that now has dropped down under 100,000 is our boy Reyners. 180,000 he was at the start of October. 14 days later, he has dropped down 100,000 coins. Yes, he did get another upgrade here, which is just monstrous prices. He did have a few rolls added, which I mean is always nice, but an extra 800,000 coins for him, I don't think is worth it, and maybe that had some effect on the price, or naturally the game's progression is just getting to the point where even harder 86s to pack, like he's going to be one of the harder ones, are still packable and most definitely will come down in price very, very quickly. So just an easy one that is personally one of my favorites. Pedri, kind of very much, I've got the two of them, Vitinha and Pedri, Both play a very similar role. You've got 80,000 and 48, obviously one at Barca, one at PSG. Both teams have got exceptional players across the board, and both of them play very similar. You look at the pace, 77 versus 72, shooting 80 versus 73, passing 86, 85, dribbling 91 and 90, both of them. And then you've got the 75 versus 78 defending, and the 77 versus 70 physical. The kind of big thing with Pedri is the 4-4, which is obviously going to add a big bonus to him. You've got technical on Vitinha that I think is a little bit wasted. I do really like the first touch. It would be nice if both of them had like the tiki-taka plus, as I think both of them together in that midfield would run the passing down to the ground quite easily. We then throw into a cam. Jude Bellingham is finally on the list. He again is another one that has been considerably dropping ever since. Like, I do think with Jude, it kind of reminds me of a very high-rated base Griezmann, kind of like a Dybala. At the start of the game, he's a great card. Like, obviously, he's coming in at 90. He's going to have a bit more of a stat boost than the other two, but it really comes to fruition with Bellingham once we get into a team of the season, a FUT birthday. We get him the 5-5, the 94 rated. That's where I think Bellingham really comes alive in this card, because then he gets a big upgrade on the defending, a bit more on the physical, the passing goes up, the pace goes up. He turns into a very good all-rounder, whereas I do think right now he's very good at the attacking. The defensive needs some work, and yes, he's got the dribbling and passing to keep him going. It's not like his passing is low, it's 90 and 89, but you could imagine a little bit of an upgrade really takes him to that next level, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes. Especially when you do have a card now at Gula, you can use obviously untradeable fodder, seeing as though Bellingham isn't that far off on the price, but in terms of his price, 70,000 for a very nice upgrade for him. Like, the stats are very good. He is going to be more cam orientated, whereas Bellingham is a bit of everything. Like, he can be defensive, he can be more centre mid vibe, and then can be obviously cam as well, whereas Gula is all out attack. That's kind of his shtick, and obviously with the 4-4, very, very nice indeed. Just missing a playstyle plus, and that would be very interesting to see where he can kind of get up from. Next up, we got Dabina. Now, she's obviously dropping in price, and the big thing with her is looking at the Brazilians now coming into Season 2 could be very interesting, either A, to make some investments to potentially make some money if they do give us game modes that require Brazilians. Whether it does, it's always just a question mark, but in general, getting your Brazilian team ready, because if it is going to be a season pass of Brazilians, you know full well they're going to need some Brazilians to play in either tournaments, gauntlets, any other extra things that they add that they've not already. Will be very interesting to see. Right wings, Diane, beautiful card, just exceptional. With her kind of right foot coming in on the left, would have been better, like how we've got the Salah with his right wing on the left, is just beautiful cutting in. She still has got the 4-star weak foot, so there is a possibility. She's just dynamite going through. The pace is brilliant, the dribbling's fantastic. Shooting, obviously, again, there is some discrepancies. Shot power isn't as crazy, but the volleys and penalties are dropping the overall shooting down that little bit more. And it is to say that she wants to go for the marksman more than anything, which would keep her lengthy, I suppose, and you would end up with 92, 89, 91, a very, very nice statted card. And if you can get them either French links or D1 links, hence the kind of call for Batcher, Renard, and also potentially Katoto, there's a definite card that you could throw in there. We have got Rodrigo. Now, I don't know what happened to him, but I mean, genuinely, he couldn't smile a little bit in the photo, could he? The render of him is just absolutely appalling, bless him, but he's got an inform. It's nothing too crazy. He's dropped down already massive amounts of price, but in general, it's a standard gold card. He comes in as another Real Madrid Brazilian as well, if you want to throw that in there. Great pace, shooting could do with the work, but he's got the dribbling. He'll be able to get through quite comfortably, but he's not necessarily the same price as like a Yamal or kind of like a Salah. He's kind of that medium to high kind of overall efficiency, but he's not going to be beating out Salah or someone like that to this position if you had the choice. Rodman, fantastic card, as we did get the rating refresh, the quick step, the pace, linking with the potential Swanson, linking with obviously Wilson if we do manage to get her up front. Again, prices for her are probably still skyrocketed. We'll have a look in a second. She's very much like Rodrigo, little bit less dribbling, but the pace is obviously exceptional. Shooting could do with some work, a bit of passing, but that's where the upgrade really kind of took her into her stride again, and to make her that little bit more appealing. But obviously, coming in at 550. I don't know if I'd quite say that sort of price, but regardless, a very nice cheap card that can definitely get the job done. And if I do want to see Wilson, as obviously everybody seems to be dropping in price, 200,000 now, so still a pretty hefty price, but she was in at 450 at one point, 400 consistently, and we are seeing the kind of drop down as we do continue. Doué, one of my personal favourites. I absolutely love his dribbling style. The trick still works really well for him. Getting in and around the box, with him obviously being on the right wing, he can cut in, he can go around the byline. He's got the tricks of the trade. He can play left wing as well. He's going to be one to definitely look at this year. He's got such a bang average kind of stat basis other than the dribbling. Everything else is just standard. Like it's nothing special. That is where it's scary to think if he manages to get the upgrade, he'd be that Dembele-esque sort of card. He's 5'11", so I believe slightly taller than Dembele. I'll have to check. I don't actually know how tall he is, but in general, a very cheap, affordable player. Now, obviously, Dembele is just dribbling orientated. 5'10", so I mean, he's not too far off, but he's 1.2 mil, which is just crazy. One that I wanted to throw in here just because I do like the card, and again, like Doué, he is another card that's a potential for the future. With his obviously 85 now, the upgrades are going to be endless for him, and I think he's going to be one to really look at. He obviously gets some great links with the likes of Haaland as well, which is always perfect. I don't know, you've obviously got Odegaard, who's going to be another one. Don't know. Hansen, obviously. Return, Hergerberg, maybe. Sorloth, Ollie, naturally. And kind of going down. That's probably going to be it. But there's a few links. If you wanted to make that Norwegian team, it's not looking terrible, to be honest. And obviously, Odegaard, Return, Bob, and Haaland are going to make that pretty nice in the end game. Salma, left wing. Great price. Obviously, another very quick Barca winger. She has been exceptional, and you can kind of see she's done the opposite. I wouldn't even imagine her at 50,000 at the start of the game to then go up to the 100 and then start to drop down a little bit more. She's kind of plateauing at this 90. We know how good she is. Obviously, then have the links when we've got Pinner involved. She's another one that obviously can play the striking role, and with that low driven, she's just stupidly good. So even if you had if you manage to get the perfect links of like Hansen on the right, a little bit more expensive than what we're kind of going for. But say you manage to get Salma, Pinner, you've got like a Bonmati, Pateas, Hansen. It's a very serious attack to try and get on board with. And the low driven, if you can get her in that space, will work very, very well. Obviously then, Kvaratskhelia coming in with the inventive. It's one of them with him. I think he's kind of been done like a little bit like Saka. Like he's got some nice stats, but there's nothing really that's screaming out other than the 5'5". The inventive is a nice playstyle, plus adds a bit of flair to him. His dribbling is obviously going to be quite good, but again, pace, I had him a bit quicker. And I know they're not going to give everybody 90 plus play pace on the wing, so it's fair enough, but naturally I do think he could have been slightly upped a little bit more, but naturally we are going to see that as we do progress. One that I had no clue what he's done this year, Liao. He's dropped down in rating. He was meant to be the next best thing, and again, I don't watch Milan that much. I don't know if he's had a good season or not, but naturally I don't think he has, because you wouldn't necessarily drop down 2 ratings since then, but even then it still gives him that chance. I think if he had a little bit more shooting, he got up to maybe the 80, we could potentially see him as a very, very nice kind of like almost like dirt cheap sort of price, but I think the 80 shooting needs to come in quick. Obviously you go with a finisher. He's already got oodles of pace. The dribbling's there. The finishing or shooting goes up to 84 at the minimum, but he's still just that little bit more needed to be able to get into that Liao spot again, which I have no kind of doubt that he will do. Swanson, the counterpart to Rodman, very easy to go with. 88 on the pace, decent dribbling. I'm not saying that these are going to be high level, elite level kind of division rival players. They are obviously going to be slightly under that, but if you are good at the game, they can definitely get down that wing very, very comfortably. You throw in quite a few of the NWSL lot. They've got a solid selection now, and I do think if you do throw in the top of the tops, obviously being Wilson, you look at the kind of Dabinas, the Swansons, even Lavelli coming in, Rodman, and then you got Chawinga coming in. Marta is kind of like the understudy of Dabina at this point, but there is plenty that you can kind of go with. And then obviously the creme de la creme in Alex Morgan and Mia Hamm being the 2 strikers. One that is interesting, we've gone on to the strikers now. Gyökeres at 74,000 coins. We had him, I want to say we got him at about 150. So naturally I'm okay with losing some coins. I just wanted a good squad. It isn't that deep really. But in general, he's one of my favorite strikers in the game. And now becoming so much more affordable for everybody. It's going to be an interesting playing field to see where Champs goes with so many players being such a little of value. Like he is pretty much halved in value in 2 weeks. I don't want to see what another 2 weeks can do for him. But one of my personal favourites. We then do have Dumane coming in at 22,000. Kind of a super sub more than anything. Got the Game Changer Plus. Pace-wise, immense. Great dribbling. Great shooting. Just a very, very high achieving striker. Obviously, you'd go for the finisher because the pace is already exceptional. An 88 rated striker with 90 on the shooting. 98 finishing. Some great agility. Composure could do with work. But I think at this level, at 22,000 as an 86 overall, easy super sub. And potentially, if you are looking at D1s with Diani and everybody, potential starter quad as much as well. We have got the two other Premier League strikers in here. We have got Haaland and Isak, 43,000 and 53,000. Obviously, Haaland got himself a player of the month. Would possibly miss out on this one, but Isak's coming in with a finesse, and we've got the low driven on this basic Haaland. Both very kind of comfortable in their own right. I do think Isak needed so much more pace. Like, he is so much quicker than 83. I think it is just a complete drop to the rating of him to keep him at there so they know what to upgrade next. But he's got the shooting, he's got the dribbling, and he's got the finesse. I mean, he's absolutely perfect in that right. Being a 4-star as well is always good, but he does have the poacher plus rather than the advanced forward, which is personally my favourite. Whereas Haaland has got the pace, as we know. He's got the physicality, he's got the shooting down to a ground, and he's also got the low driven that is a very broken shot mechanic at the moment, which works effortlessly. And finally, Alvarez, 60,000 coins, La Liga, beautiful striker, comes in way cheaper than the Mbappes of the world, and I would say he puts himself in a very nice category. Maybe doesn't have the shooting play style plus, but press proven isn't the worst. I mean, you could potentially have a trickster at this point that really doesn't offer too much as a striker, then it is better as kind of like your winger more than anything, and he has got the shooting down to a ground, the pace, the shooting, the dribbling, all at a very high and efficient level. You'd obviously go with a hunter for him more so than anything, to give him 91 on the pace, 90 on the shooting, and keep his dribbling very, very high up there. Now that's going to be under the 100k mark. I will be very interested to maybe up it to 150 or 200 next time round to see if it really has that increase on players. Let me know if you've got anybody over the 100k mark that you think is going to drop in this week, and we'll catch you all for that next one. Make sure you like and subscribe. Peace.